Today on Locked On Red Wings, the losing streak is over, but hope is not restored.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts. Sorry, I was jamming into the intro. We are your hosts, Brian Fischer and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty is host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Scotty, we got a win to talk about. What? That's a new one.
I'm just trying stuff now. I don't even know.
There we go. All right. Off to a solid start. We got a win to talk about. I'd love to be excited about it, except the Red Wings then proceeded to go out there the next day and go right back to exactly what was losing them hockey games against Pittsburgh. So, I mean, we'll talk about the win, but there will be no optimism surrounding it, given exactly what happened the next day.
We talked about it off air before we hit record. Like, this was like the worst thing possible for like a talking perspective, right? Like, if they lose both, the losing streak's still on, and you talk about how they just keep losing games and whatever that comes with that. If they win both, then you're like, okay, like, are we turning this thing around? This is fun. If they lose the first one and win the second one, then you're like, okay, like, winning streak snapped. Like, look at us. But they did like the one thing that just makes for, like, because now no one even cares about Buffalo, right? Like, no one, that's something like you had said too. Like, no one, that's great that they won. It's not a losing streak. That's awesome. But like, you just went and looked not great against Pittsburgh 24 hours later. And now no one even really cares that you beat Buffalo.
No, exactly. Like, so, and we still have to talk about Buffalo, because the reason why they won that hockey game is because they got back to doing what was driving their success.
Yeah.
And the dichotomy is just incredible when you look at the very next game, when they immediately just went back to what they were doing. And we'll talk about this chronologically as best we can. Again, like, we'll talk about the win, and we're happy they broke the losing streak, but with the knowledge of how Pittsburgh ended up the following day, I'll post this as soon as we get this done, so it'll be late Sunday, but I'm sure plenty of you will be listening to this on Monday as well. It definitely dampens any excitement we could have had with breaking the losing streak. But with that being said, there are some important things to keep in mind with the win. The Islanders lost in overtime yesterday to the Ottawa Senators. And so with the Red Wings win, the Red Wings move back into sole possession of the second wild card spot at 74 points, I believe it is.
It's just absurd.
It's crazy.
They're 1-9. They're 1-9 in their last 10, and they're back in the second wild card because the Islanders have been getting pounced lately. They lost their back this weekend.
It's 4 losses in a row, one of which being overtime.
For them. The Caps, who were dead in the water and were just an afterthought, are now like back. All the other teams have lowered themselves to be. It's a
joke.
Goodness.
It is a race between teams that do not want it. Yeah. It's exactly what it is. But anyway, Scotty, Buffalo, we got to talk about it still. Who is your difference maker in the Buffalo Sabres game that ultimately snapped the Red Wings 7-game losing streak?
Yeah, I think that there's a few ways to go. We talked about it a little bit before, the combination of, I guess, Reimer and the defense. I had given Reimer credit, and you pointed out that the team defense actually, for the first times in a long time, actually looked how it did when they were winning a lot of hockey games, which is certainly true as well. So when you look at just the goals against numbers, just straight up, how many goals they've given up in this losing streak. Obviously, the offense scored more than we've been used to lately as well. But I think that the biggest reason for this was overall just the fact that they were able to keep goals off of the scoreboard for the first time in what feels like a month.
Yeah, and I mean, unlike the rest of the stretch, including the game following, the Red Wings got down big early, or they got not down big, but they got down early in the game, 1-0, and a horrible goal allowed by James Reimer. And I fought you a little bit on the pre-show recording about whether or not Reimer should be in that difference maker category, because he allowed and again, another softie, just like against Vegas, from a low danger category. Again, it was a power play goal. So it was like given like an expected goals like 0.5, which was crazy because it came from the top of the circle and never left the ice, just went 5-hole, just like with Vegas. So I fought you on that. But I mean, on high danger chances, they allowed 5. He made all 5 saves. He was 8-8 on medium danger chances, according to Natural Stat Trick at all strengths. And then, of course, against he was 11 for 12 because he allowed that one low danger. So, like, I don't know. I couldn't in good conscience give him difference maker, but I would agree that the team defense around him definitely helped elevate him. Because he made ultimately 25 saves in this hockey game for like a .936 save percentage. And I think that is a lot to do with the fact that the team actually played better hockey around him for once and around any goalie for once in this stretch. My difference maker, though, however, was Christian Fischer and the third line, but notably Christian Fischer, because I give the comeback and then ultimately the win to the second effort by Christian Fischer. And he's a guy, we talk about, we love Christian Fischer and what he is. He's a pure heart and hustle guy. He's a really good winger. He's good on the penalty kill. He is actually one of the few players who will try and win the races to the corner. He'll battle along the boards. He does everything right except for score. So seeing him get rewarded by just shoveling that puck into the net on the ice for the tie it up 1-1. I think that was it
too, man. Big weekend for the boy.
Yeah, and I think that he energized the team. And because from that goal on, the Red Wings dominated the game. If you look at the Red Wings, and I'll even post it up here. It's been a while since I've posted one of these, but the Corsi line graph as it goes on Natural Stat Trick, the shot attempt share line graph, you can see the moment Christian Fischer scored that goal, it immediately goes and jumps into the Red Wings direction, and it stays that way pretty much the entire game. It stays in the Red Wings territory. The Red Wings played the Red Wings became a complete hockey team for the first time in 10 games after the Christian Fischer goal. And again, with the knowledge of what happened in Pittsburgh, who cares? But for that shining moment, the Red Wings looked like the team that they were when they were winning hockey games. And I credit Christian Fischer, and on a broader perspective, that third line for doing that. And that third line, what makes them so good is the fact that they put back together Michael Rasmussen and Andrew Kopp. That third line, when the Red Wings were successful, were very, very good. And for whatever reason, I can't remember, I'm assuming they just stopped being as effective. That line got broken up. And now that they're back together, even against Pittsburgh, they were one of your most effective lines, because with that line against the competition that they're seeing, they dominate. Michael Rasmussen is so good on the third line. Andrew Kopp, overpaid to be playing third line center, but he's very good in that role. So just overall, that third line is my difference maker for that game. Notable performances. Is there anyone? Because we got 2 games to talk about, so we got to fly through this.
The only person that I think was in my debate for difference maker, the Kaner goal, like single-handedly, obviously not single-handedly, but that was the goal that made it a 2-goal game and kind of puts you ahead. So that was a really important moment. Obviously, Kane in general, I think, had a pretty good game. So that would probably be the other. And then I know we were talking off air about maybe we wait till Pittsburgh, but like Zarnik, I think, has looked really good since getting the call just in general. I think he's been really solid.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll just go. I'll mention it. Yeah, I agree, Zarnik. But instead of going to break, I'll just talk about Zarnik real quick. I really liked Austin Zarnik and what he's brought. I thought he was a good call-up for the Detroit Red Wings at center. Christian Fischer wasn't cutting it, but it allowed Christian Fischer to bump back to that wing. We talked a little bit about it on Friday, and it's proven dividends for the Red Wings, at least on that line. Not much is going right for the Detroit Red Wings, but that third line's been very good. And Austin Zarnik on the fourth line as center, this is, for a guy like Zarnik, he understands the stakes. Like, every single time he gets called up, he's auditioning for a job, if not with the Red Wings, with another team. And he doesn't have a lot of skill, but a lot like Fischer, he's going to hustle. He had a good opportunity against Buffalo. He's just a guy who's going to give you 110% every single shift. And he's looked good in that fourth line role. And the fourth line has looked a lot better with him at center. Unfortunately, against Pittsburgh, it didn't do a whole lot, but Daniel Sprong got a goal against the Buffalo Sabres. with Robbie Fabry as the assist, and Zarnik centers that line. So much of that couldn't happen or occur without Austin Zarnik. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to talk about, I have one more difference maker. It kind of goes in line with your Patrick Kane thing, and then we'll move on to the Pittsburgh game, which I know what everyone really cares about. So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Did you know that even if you have a 401k retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood is the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar to transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% match on transfer is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. My last notable performer, and you mentioned the Kane goal, even just the moment before that. Again, it's that second effort. The second effort by Fischer on the first goal, and then the second effort by JT Compher as that puck is just about to get cleared away from the net front to dive and knock it off of the Sabres stick to Patrick Kane, who was sitting back door. Those are the moments that made the difference in the game, that swung momentum towards the Red Wings to give them the confidence that they could actually win the hockey game. And they did. They played a good second and they played a good third. And the reason they did that is because they were winning races to the puck. They were winning board battles. They were actually playing team defense in the defensive zone and weren't getting hemmed in 24/7. But it's those moments in a losing streak that make all the difference between an 8-game losing streak and snapping it. And so for me, it's a JT Compher's second effort and Christian Fischer's second effort that made the difference in this hockey game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then, of course, top it off, Lucas Raymond got the empty net goal as he continues to stay hot, even into Pittsburgh, which was overall a dumpster fire of a game. And we call that in the business a transition, Scotty. Who was your difference maker in the 6-3 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins when the Red Wings yet again had an opportunity to create space in the wild card race after a 5-2 loss to the New York Rangers that the Islanders had a chance to make it a 3-point separation? Who is your difference maker?
Do you want to go first, man? You really feel like you want to go first with this one. I went first in the first game. You
Sure.
Go first with this one. You sound really ready to take the reins there.
There is no difference maker. There's no moment. Okay, you know what? There is a moment. It's when they allow the first goal against. The difference maker is always the first goal against. They were able to overcome it against Buffalo. But if you look at every single game across the losing streak, they only led twice. That was against Buffalo, and that was against the Colorado Avalanche. Every single game, they give up a goal, and they fall apart. Ben Sherratt even acknowledged it. So my difference-making moment was just that unlucky bounce as the power play was expiring in the first period by Riley Smith. Yes, Lucas Raymond scored to make it 1-1. But when they get scored on, they just fall apart. They stop trying to play defense. They stop hustling the pucks. It just falls apart, which is wild because when you look at what this team was doing when they have the most third period comebacks in the NHL, but now all of a sudden their confidence in their ability to come back from being down 1-0 is gone. They just assume the game is over when they're down 1-0. And then the dagger was, it's still in the first period when they allowed a goal with like 30 seconds left. And that happened again at the end of the second. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Overall, the difference maker here was allowing the first goal yet again. This team desperately needs to score the first goal, and they just continually fail to do so.
Yeah, mine's similar, but not quite the same. Mine was... This is really funny, actually. Mine's the third goal against. Mine's going to be the third goal against for the same reason. So basically, to me, like they evened it after the first goal against, right? It was a 1-1 game. And
Great
then
goal
with
by
like
Raymond.
90 seconds left in the first period, it was a 1-1 game. Then they give up a goal, and then they give up another goal seconds later. With 90 seconds, I think it was, or 2 minutes at most, but I think it was less than 2 minutes to go until the intermission. It was a 1-1 hockey game, and you went into the intermission down 3-1. That was the wind out of the sails. Absolutely brutal. Obviously, they made it a 2-goal game again. In the second, it was 4-2 at one point. But that moment where you go down 2-1 and then you have seconds, literally seconds, until the intermission, and you allow a third goal and you let it get to a 2-goal game, and you're going into the locker room having given up 2 goals in the last 90 to 100 seconds is not only is that just a huge gut punch, but it's pretty inexcusable too. And
Okay.
I if you want a player, I hate ragging on him so much like we have during this streak, but like Lyon is obviously in that conversation.
He is
But the
cooked.
defense did him zero favors as well. They completely left him out to dry multiple times in this hockey game. You ended up with 40 shots almost against by all said and done. And your offense, I guess I'm just like saying everything at this point. You had like 9 or 10 shots on net at the halfway point in the game. So you had no help on the other end of the ice. Pittsburgh was playing the possession game a big time, early at least. Just there's no zone entry. So then they just dump and Penguins go back and keep possession. Like you had a...
It's the same issue, Scotty.
But like you, it was again the worst zone entry I've ever seen for like the millionth game in a row. It didn't matter if you had a man advantage. It didn't matter. It did nothing mattered. It was really back to, I think you had said before we started recording, like really just like back to what they've been doing, reverted right back to the losing ways.
It's the same things that we complained about in every single loss during the losing streak. They come out, and I feel like in the last 4 games, the Red Wings have come out ready to play, but then they give up either a bad goal or have a defensive breakdown for a bad goal. Whoever is at fault, they go down early, and then it falls apart. And it's the same things we talk about in every single game. The forwards play zero defense. The defense can't get the puck out because they're hemmed in, because they're getting no support. So then they have to dump the puck. And so by the time they get the puck out, they're forced to change, which means they don't get to carry the puck into the offensive zone and create offensive zone offense. And they do get the opportunity to carry the puck to the offensive zone. You have 2 players on the roster currently in Patrick Kane and Moritz Seider. Lucas or Dylan Larkin being your third player who's injured right now isn't playing. So you have 2 players who can actually carry the puck, and the rest have to dump the puck. But because they're not skating hard and they just give up, they're not winning the race after the dump. They're not dumping chasing. They're just dumping and giving up. And then Max Boltman mentioned it great the other day too. Like, it's get the puck deep and then have the defending team get the puck in the corner, chip it up to the wingers, then have one of your wingers go after that guy and attack that guy, and they just make a chip up off the boards around them and out for an odd man rush going back the other way. And then your defense, because it's an odd man rush, get hemmed back in the defensive zone. So if you don't get scored upon by a leaky goal by your goaltender or an odd man rush, then it's cycle repeats. You get an opportunity finally to chip it out, but you have to change because you're exhausted. They're just doing every single step wrong. And I talked about it on with Gil Martin, actually the host of the Locked On Islanders podcast. I was on Monday's episode of Locked On NHL. He was asking me, what's been the deal with the Red Wings lately? And it's just everything that they did right, they are not doing it. When they get buy-in by the forwards into Lalonde's defensively responsible system that he's trying to run, the team is good. But on top of that, they still need superb goaltending, and that is not something they've gotten. Because let's face it, Scotty, Alex Lyon is cooked, and he was shelled in this game. He was shelled. So this is me hedging my opinion, right? Like, looking at the amount of shots he faced, of course you're going to give up a few goals. But a couple of those goals, the Sidney Crosby one that gave them the lead late in the first, right? That was one he could have saved. There's in every single game you watch in the recent stretch, there are several goals in each game you can point at and go, that's one he should not have let in. And it's not necessarily like, I don't like ragging on Alex Lyon because too much has been asked of him. Like, he is not an NHL starter. He's not Andrei Vasilevsky. You can't have him start 50, 60 games. He's throughout his career has been a very streaky goalie. He gave you his hot streak, but now that he's cooling off, you don't have another goalie to go to because Ville Husso has played one game since December 18th, and James Reimer needs to retire. Like James Reimer, granted, I know in Buffalo he had like a .936 save percentage, but the one goal he allowed was brutal, and all season long he's allowed bad goal after bad goal. Like this team cannot get consistently good goaltending to save their life outside of that stretch by Alex Lyon, but now he deserves a rest, and that's what it is. And he's been bad lately, and he deserves a rest but the team has no other option but to trot him back out there. Like they don't because they don't have another option unless you want to call up Sebastian Kosa. But like, let's be realistic. He's not ready for the NHL level. Like he's finally catching his stride at the AHL level. Like it's just not time yet. Michael Hutchinson, sure, let's go. Like,
yeah, no, I think I think you're probably going to see more Reimer outings going forward, and I don't know how you can I think you kind of have to. I don't know what else you do.
This is December, this is worse than December was. Because remember, October, November, they were good. December, they fell apart. January, February, they're good. March, they're falling apart. It's just, they need to string a couple wins together to get their confidence back. And I was hoping they'd do it against Pittsburgh. I was really hoping because that would give them a 3-point cushion in the wild card after the Devils lost to the Golden Knights and the Islanders got killed. That'd give them a 3-point cushion in the wild card. They'd have some confidence back going forward, especially with Larkin hopefully returning this week coming up, which isn't a guarantee, mind you, but hopefully returning this week coming up. But they just, again, they gave up the first goal and they gave up. They just keep doing it. And I just feel so bad for Alex Lyon because no, he's not been perfect, but so much has been asked of him. And you shouldn't have to ask your goalie to be one of the best goalies in the league on a night-to-night basis. At some point, the team's got to pick him up. And the team has not been able to do that throughout this entire month of March.
Yeah, I think they have one win in March.
One win, and that was on Saturday.
Right. Yeah, that's their first win in March, and it came on March 16th.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, I guess I'll give you my notable performances, and that's going to mostly be us talking about Lucas Raymond because he deserves, despite this losing streak, Lucas Raymond deserves us singing his praises. I'm going to take a breath. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Got to talk to you guys today about FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whenever you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, we're going to be betting on Oakland University, Scotty. I know you're not an Oakland alum. I am, but you're going to be betting on them too. We're upsetting Kentucky. Let's go.
Kentucky. Okay.
We're upsetting Kentucky. Let's go. It's time to go dancing on America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets. If your first $5 bet wins, that's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Oakland University. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut the nets down. If Oakland loses, it's because the ref screwed them. Just saying. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings. I'm already hedging my bets. You know, like it's not Oakland's fault if they lose. The ref screwed them. That's just how it happens. Anyway, Scotty. Notable performances against Pittsburgh. I mean, if you were looking for positives, Christian Fischer scored again, which is great to see. Lucas Raymond scored twice to tie his career high of points at 57.
You want to talk about any silver lining, if there is one. It's not even really a silver lining, but anyone who has played well during this losing streak, I think Raymond is probably the answer there.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 goals tonight. He had the empty netter in Buffalo. He scored
bumper on the power play as well.
Actually, this is a 4-goal. He's got 5 goals in the last 4 games, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points in the last 4 games as well. So, yeah. I mean, not a lot of players have stepped up to the plate while Dylan Larkin's been injured, but he has been one of the few. Patrick Kane, at least offensively, has. Definitely does not provide anything defensively still. But, I mean, Lucas Raymond, it's been great to see him having a coming out party this year. Contract year for him, although he's an RFA, so it's not like he's going anywhere regardless. But he and Sider want to get paid, and they're going to get paid this offseason. Lucas Raymond's going to because of Dylan Larkin's injury, Lucas Raymond's probably going to end up leading the team in points when it all is said and done. 57 points is for him now. And just with 13 games left, he's going to crush his previous career high that he set in his rookie year. And he'll probably finish between 65 and 70 points, which is just, I mean, that's a breakout year if there is one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He's been good. Like I said, he's taken kind of Larkin's role on the power play too, and looked pretty good in this game doing that. Yeah, nothing but good things to say about how he's looked the last, like I said, 5 or 6 games.
I mean, and you want to know what the big difference maker is? He's shooting the puck. Like that's the big difference maker right now. We already know how good of a passer he is, right? He's a playmaker, but in the past 4 games, he's had 3 shots, 2 shots, 3 shots, 3 shots. That's resulted in 2 goals, 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal. Lucas Raymond can shoot the puck. And it's like he finally, because he doesn't have a bona fide sniper to pass to on that line that he's on right now with Joe Veleno and David Perron. Now, Perron can definitely shoot for sure. But like it's been on Lucas Raymond to kind of drive the play of that line. And so he's been like, screw it, I'm going to shoot the puck more. And he has, and he scored. Now, granted, 2 of those goals are beautiful feats from Patrick Kane, who after a few quiet games has gotten back onto the score sheet pretty consistently the last few. But, I mean, it's hard to find anything to be positive about right now, but Lucas Raymond is the one thing that you can be positive about through this losing stretch is how good he has been.
Absolutely.
And then let's see. I think that's it.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. Yeah,
I just looked at my note. I mean, Lucas Raymond's second goal came on the power play in garbage time. So,
word.
I don't have. It's like I reiterate the same things I have reiterated to you guys all last week. I don't have words for you anymore. We have talked ad nauseum about what has made this team fall flat on their face. So I could spend the next 5 minutes venting to you about those same things like I did in segment 2, but at a certain point, you're just beating the dead horse. When I can just send this episode into the ether and let you guys brood like I brood anymore. I'm going to eat my feelings tonight.
Good for you, man.
I already have a little bit. Had Taco Bell, but who knows? It might not be the end of it.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I do think if we're done, I do think that we would be remiss if we didn't bring up the PWHL game. I was there, and it was awesome. So they set a U.S. record for attendance in the league. It was Boston versus Ottawa, went to a shootout. Such an awesome atmosphere, such an awesome environment, great hockey. And yeah, just like I said, the atmosphere was really second to none. And you can really tell how much that game and that league mean to so many people. It was a really, really, I took my sister. It was an incredible thing to be a part of and see. And I hope that Detroit is in the running at least for an expansion team because that'd be pretty darn cool.
And shout out Jessie Comfort, JT Comfort's sister, plays for Toronto.
Yeah, she plays for Toronto, but yeah, very cool. They had a whole they showed it on the broadcast. They had like the interview both of them and whatnot. But it was a really, really, like I said, great hockey and a really, really incredible atmosphere. It was really, really cool.
And I'll be honest, like I was a little bit skeptical of the success this would find because I felt like it was kind of rushed together this inaugural season. The merging of the 2 previously existing professional women's hockey leagues, one of which was already seeing some success. I was like, what are they doing? And then they're rushing it out and the teams don't have logos. I was like, what are they doing? And then like as the season's gone on, I'm like, okay, wow, they're actually doing a great job supporting this product. And the NHL's done a good job of helping boost it. And like you said, the games have been fantastic. Obviously, you saw the game.
It was 13,000 people. Like it was,
which is incredible.
It's really, really cool, man. It was really awesome. Yeah, like
it's more than an Arizona Coyotes game.
Right. Yeah, it was really cool, man.
I root for it
to a lot of people,
and it's fun too. Like the referees, like the Players Association that the Women's League has made it so their rules are kind of lenient. So there's a lot more physical hockey than previous women's leagues had.
Big hits, man. It was pretty there were some big hits.
It's fun, man.
Yeah, it's good hockey.
So I'm glad you brought that up because with everything going on at the Wings, completely slipped my mind. But that was a big event that was happening.
Yeah, like I said, Wings played at noon, and They played at 6. So yeah, like I said, took my sister. It was a really fun time.
Support the Red Wings, support women's hockey, and support minor league hockey,
Dang
because
right.
all of that trickles up. We need that in this. And if you want to make hockey more popular, all those things matter.
Absolutely.
All right, Scotty, you got any final thoughts?
I don't think so, man. We ball. It doesn't feel like it sometimes, but you know what? We do.
You know what, Scotty? Red Wings may not ball right now, but we ball and the listeners ball.
Absolutely.
Everyone associated with this podcast, you guys ball. Stay tuned.
Absolutely.
We'll do a game preview. I might rip into the loan a little bit on Monday. Who knows? I'm feeling a little feisty right now. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.